update for small business. Obviously today we're going to give you some updates, and that'll be of general information. Seek your own professional advice, and I reckon in a couple of weeks some of the information we've told you will probably change, so keep an eye on the news reports, our reports, and we'll see if we can give you some more definite information. I think some of the Jobkeeper 2 legislation is going through Parliament this week. So there's our team. We're all working remotely, probably like all you guys. Hopefully you're all still working where possible. Obviously it's quite a challenge for everyone. Challenge for us because we all live around the corner from our office, and we really didn't think much about having to work too remotely when we can walk past our office when we're walking our dog. But we give it a good wave. It's still there, and hopefully be there in a few weeks and we can all go back. Thanks everyone for their patience. We're getting through everyone's bits and pieces as we're moving along. This is a brief history of taxes, and this is quite interesting. This was done for another thing I did about 2 years ago. I found it, and I thought it was quite interesting because we've had a few different changes: capital gains tax, GST, and you guys are definitely part of history as we go into cash flow boost and Jobkeeper, which is actually the government giving us money back. All the rest of it is the government taking money from us. Just for everyone's information, there's 125 different taxes each year. Of these, 99 are levied by Australian government, 25 by the state government, and 1 by council rates. And Australia doesn't have a simple tax system, and I reckon after they give out all this money, they'll probably have to increase taxes to repay it. Just a quick note from the ATO. Obviously, with cyber attacks at the moment on small business, there's quite a few little schemes going around, so just be careful when you're getting emails, especially asking to change bank account details or superannuation fund access and stuff like that, because there has been quite a few people lost money to scammers, which is not that good. Jobkeeper 2. So here we have a few of the key points. So there's a review. There's new turnover rules. There's a review which employees are eligible. We need to review who gets what. We need to advise employees of revised amounts. We need to make sure that they are not employed by another employer. That seems to be a trend, that a couple of employees seem to be getting Jobkeeper more than once. And as long as you've met the eligibility requirements, you'll continue to receive Jobkeeper payments till the end of September. So just ensure that you're making your monthly declarations and paying your employees. Two following terminologies are used in this article / presentation, and that current scheme and also extended scheme. So they refer to Jobkeeper 1 as the current scheme, which we're in, and they refer to Jobkeeper 2 as the extended scheme. Not that it really matters for you, because by the time we will just refer it to Jobkeeper 2. First thing you need to do for Jobkeeper 2 is to check the next quarter's turnover. So we're looking at September 2020, so this current BAS period, to September quarter 2019. So it's a quarterly situation. So we won't bother with the next quarter at this stage, but it's important for you to check. Probably I think the rules are presently that if you lodge your BAS return on a cash basis, use that. If you're on accruals, use that. There was a little bit of confusion with Jobkeeper 1, and I think they decided to change the rules, but we're still waiting on clarification on that one. So the December 2020 quarter, for January 2021, the business will need to further reassess their turnover to be eligible for the Jobkeeper payment. They'll need to demonstrate that they have the relevant decline in turnover with reference to the actual GST turnover in each September and December quarters to remain ineligible for Jobkeeper payment. So Jobkeeper 1 will come to an end at the end of September, and probably for half our client base that they will drop off. For Jobkeeper 2, you'll probably need to re-enroll. The system hasn't been put out yet as to how that will happen. We'll probably get information early September. So you'll have to reassess it. You would have all of your existing employees that are on Jobkeeper 1 will probably continue, and we'll talk about a couple of those tweaks that you've got to do to make sure that they're still eligible. So what happens next? If a business or a not-for-profit does not meet the turnover test, then this doesn't affect their eligibility for the current Jobkeeper. So they'll receive that till the 28th of September, and then they'll go back to paying taxes, and hopefully their business will continue to grow. And the Jobkeeper account will continue remain open for new recipients, provided they meet the eligibility requirements and the turnover tests that apply during the Jobkeeper payment period. One of the questions I haven't been able to locate yet is, if you fall out of the September quarter, can you jump back in for the December quarter? That sort of hasn't really, I haven't come across that yet to see what the situation is there. Obviously, there's a BAS deadline for this quarter, and the BAS deadline's not until the end of October/November. So you obviously have to make that decision before then. Most people by mid-September should be able to make a decision that they are eligible for Jobkeeper 2 pretty easily. There is a discretion by the Commissioner of Taxation to extend the time if needed, but hopefully you'll know straight away whether you're eligible. So there's a couple of areas that we'll look at, and that's existing employees registered at the 1st of March, already on the Jobkeeper system. They continue as is. There's no action really that you need to do for them, as far as we are aware. They must continue to meet the ongoing eligibility requirements, so they must be not nominated by anyone else. And I think that's important to make sure that they haven't gone off and nominate somewhere else and you're paying them as well, because I'm not sure what would happen in there, whether the tax office will chase you or the employee. And make you sure that you continue to meet your monthly reporting and payment conditions. We'll talk about the August payment conditions at the end, and Vicky will probably give us an update on that one, because that's a little bit of a twist in that one. To keep receiving or apply for Jobkeeper 2, once you've worked out your 30% decline, then you'll need to demonstrate the decline turnover test for the next quarter moving on. So at this stage, we only need to worry about the this coming deadline and make sure that you meet your 30% decline. So obviously in turnover, same conditions as the last particular Jobkeeper. Turnover includes certain things, excludes Jobkeeper payments, stuff like that you've received, and the cash flow boost, but includes most other things. If you're not sure, we can work through that with you. Okay, hopefully my internet will work. Okay, so existing employees 1st of March who are now might be eligible that weren't under Scheme 1. So this is particularly important for casual employees that have now met that 12-month period, because we've obviously extended it to 1st July. So we're looking at the whole year, whereas it was 1st of March. So there could be some eligible casual employees now. There's teenage employees who are now a bit older, so they previously had been excluded. They may be older and may be eligible. So make sure that you give them a nomination form if you haven't already done so, and make sure you start paying them for fortnights 10 and 11. You don't need to pay them for fortnight 9. And you need to include them in the existing, with the existing and the new employees in the August report, which is due by the 14th of September. Okay, rightio, let's see if we can follow this one through. Okay, the new rule for new employees. So if you might have an employee who's joined your workforce after the 1st of March, but I think that's before the 1st of July, they're eligible to be included in Jobkeeper number 2. And you need to give them a nomination form and obviously work through them as part of your employer. So the same rules that applied last time, it's all employees in, unless they decide they don't want to be in. And so just check that any new employees are still not receiving Jobkeeper from the old employer. Otherwise, you've got 2 Jobkeepers coming through. So the individual must have ceased to be employed by the old entity after the 1st of March, but before the 1st of July. So that's come from the Tax and Superannuation Association. Eligible employers who have stood down their employees before the commencement of the scheme are also eligible to participate. If they're re-engaged by the employer prior to, and this sort of thing, prior to the 1st of July, they'll also be eligible in that case. So they're giving everyone a bit of a go to make sure that no one's missing out that should be eligible. The business participant, now that's an interesting one because we're going to get into classification of payments shortly, and this is certainly an area where we could see some contention. Under the updated Jobkeeper 2, to determine if a business participant or an employee is on the higher or lower rate. So many of our clients that hold trusts and companies don't pay wages are called a business participant. So if you're in Jobkeeper, you're either as an employee or a business participant. And obviously there's different rates that we'll talk about of payment. So, and for a business participant who doesn't receive a wage, they're going to look at hours. Based on hours in February 2020, which is 4 weeks worth, to work out the average hours. If their hours are higher than 20, they'll receive the higher tier. Is there any flexibility around the 20-hour rule? Not sure. I'm sure there'll be people that will try and argue that they're working pretty hard. So I think, again, it'll be a self-assessment, but of course, if you're not earning a lot of money and you've never done so, there's likelihood that you might be working the extended 20 hours, but there's likelihood that you might get a knock on the door from the tax office asking how you've worked out the 20-hour rule. We'll wait and see. There's obviously a few more weeks before that kicks in, and there'll be some discussions amongst the accountants and the tax office and the government as to how that will work. Employees are related to employer claiming the Jobkeeper. Under the extended Jobkeeper program, workers will be paid on 2 different rates. So depending on whether they've worked fewer than 20 hours a week in the 4 weeks up to the 1st of March. So that's the February month. Those that will work obviously more than 20 hours similar, they'll qualify for the higher tier, whether those that are on less will qualify for the lower tier. As was pointed out by Vicky, which is a good comment, it's got to be relating to that one employer. So you can't have an employee come and say they've worked 40 hours for different employers, even though they're claiming the Jobkeeper through you. It's got to relate to that one employer situation. Obviously, there's a little bit of discretion around the hours, and there'll be alternative tests again as to how that's worked out. So don't stress out too much, because there's obviously going to be some areas of grey areas where people have had taken leave, or they've been volunteering for the bushfires, or they haven't been employed for whatever reason. So we'll watch out for some more tax rulings and guidance on how to deal with that. So if that's concerning you, just give us a yell and we'll work through with you as to whether that's how we get around that situation. As yet, the government's released all this, but they haven't really thought of some of the practical issues yet. Okay, so we've sort of alluded that there'll be new payment rates, and it's sort of tiered. So it'll go high and low, which is greater than 20 hours and less than 20 hours. And then we've got the December quarter, and then we've got the March quarter next year that's slowly tearing off. Either can change. If Victoria stays in lockdown, maybe we'll get more, who knows. At the moment, these are the rules, so we'll just work with what we've been given. So $1,200 per fortnight for eligible employees who are working in the business for more than 20 hours a week. So that's, and for those that are working less, they get $750. So it sorts out that problem where some employees were getting quite a windfall for working maybe 10 hours a week and ended up with quite, $1,500. There's going to be a few, obviously, employees who will be upset. So you've got to be prepared to explain to those employees that their pay will be dropping down. And that's sort of part of the process as an employer, that you manage your employees in that area. Because there will be certain employees that have probably had a quite a windfall for the last 6 months, and will have to adjust their spending when they go back to $750. The entitlement based on business participation. There's no real change of rules in there. It's still one person per entity. There's a minor amendment to the rules around eligible business participants, clarifying that the same individual could not be eligible for business participation of 2 entities in the same fortnight. So they've realised that a couple of people were probably trying to claim business participation in various businesses that they've run. So that it's basically saying, look, you can only get it once, and that's a fair comment in that area. So there's the dates. So if you're on the current Jobkeeper 1, that'll go up to the 28th of September. Don't forget that these payments are accrued in arrears, so you won't receive that payment until sometime in October for the Jobkeeper 1. And then we're going on to Jobkeeper 2, and that's going to be tiered for those periods. So that gives you a bit of an example of what's going to happen in that period. Very important, I think, at this stage to remember that you're probably going to need good payroll records and some conversations with your staff as to making sure that you've classified them correctly. If there's any vagueness as to whether they're on the 750 or the 1200, you need to go to work through it with them to make sure that both you and them understand the implications of which one you're going to put them on. Because getting it wrong could lead to you repaying the difference. There might be some more rules come out in the next couple of weeks as to how that will work. Okay, this one is for what to pay up to the 27th of September. Vicky, do you want to jump in there and say a few words on that one?
Yep, sure. So next week will be time to declare the August declaration again. There's 2 main differences for August, in that there's 3 fortnights. I may have mentioned it in the last month's email I sent out. So fortnight 9 commenced on the 20th of July, and then it goes through to 10, and fortnight 11, which then finishes on the 30th of August. Shouldn't pose too many problems for anyone who pays weekly, fortnightly, maybe for those who pay wages, salary monthly. You just might need to adjust and just make sure that you incorporate all the fortnights that you've been paid by the tax office, that you will pay your employees, or you don't need to pay yourself as a business participant, but any employees get paid all of the fortnights that you've been paid. As usual, so next week we'll send the August thing out. It'll be due by the 14th of September. The sooner you get it back to us, the sooner we can put the lodgement in, and the sooner you'll get your money. One other major thing, other than the 3 fortnights, that's different this time around, is that if you have any newly eligible employees as at the 1st of July, as long as they meet all the criteria per the nomination form, the employee nomination form, they are also able to be claimed this time around. So if there was somebody who didn't meet the criteria for hours or for casual, or if they were too young, they didn't meet it in March, they might meet it the 1st of July, they can also be claimed. Now, so also because of the 3 fortnights and because of the new rule to do with new employees, you can only claim these new employees from the middle fortnight. So you can't claim fortnight 9, you can only claim from 10 or 11. And this is because the legislation only came into play during the middle of August. So that's pretty much it from me.
While I have you, Vicky, has there been any issues that have been reoccurring that people should know about in terms of recording or people getting it right generally?
No issues. I think a lot of people just getting muddled at where they're at. I'll get a lot of questions of, have I been paid everything? Because this works in arrears, so sometimes it seems like a long time between when you were paid for the last month to when you get your next 2 lots of fortnights pay, so you'll only ever get paid a monthly amount from the tax office. You won't get it every fortnight, so they're really just the questions I get all the time.
Okay, great. And is the tax office very helpful?
Yeah,
Good.
always. There's only a couple of clients who have issues where we need to ring up, but whoever we get at the other end is always helpful.
Oh, great. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Vic. You there for a sec. Okay, so there is a little rule here for continued flexibility for business transitioning away from Jobkeeper for employee directives. So this is the Fair Work bits and pieces, and there's 2 lawyers here that probably know more about it than me, which is Gary and Matthew. The Jobkeeper flexibility provisions have been proposed, so they're actually not, I don't think they've been made legislation yet, in an ambit fashion to allow businesses to continue to put in some new rules, some modified rules around fair work. So there's this thing called, these identified businesses who meet this criteria can demonstrate at least a 10% drop in turnover. And it's got to be certified by a registered professional, which I think is an accountant, which is putting a bit of pressure on people like us to be able to access the modified versions of the Jobkeeper flexibility provisions, including the stand down of 50% hours and the direct appropriate changes to location and work tasks that are under the modified Fair Work provisions. So that's just a little interesting sideline that's sort of floating around in that area. I don't know, that's only come out in the last couple of days, so I'm not sure how that's actually going to work at this stage. Okay, before we go to questions, so what do you need to do now? Not a lot, other than make sure that the August payments and new employees are brought on. Enrolment for the second Jobkeeper will probably not happen till sometime early September. So the next week or 2, hopefully we'll see some direction from the tax office as to how you enrol. And no doubt everyone will be made aware of that.